After greedy Bryan Mbeumo picks Man United over Newcastle, the Mags have turned their attention to a familiar face. Morning everyone, welcome back to the Magpie Channel TV. I think it's only right we get this one out nice and early because with transfer season underway, you never know. We might be doing 2-3 videos a day with the way the rumours and the news is circulating. Obviously the other day we did that live stream late. Last night, this morning, there's new targets that are out for Newcastle instead of Bryan Mbeumo. And speaking of Bryan, silly greedy Bryan, he's been in the breaking news on Sky Sports in the past half an hour or so that Man United have now made contact with Brentford and make the signing happen. His representatives are in talk with Brentford asking for at least 60 million quid, so it's not cheap. And more so what isn't cheap is greedy Bryan's wage demands. So he's actually on £45,000 a week at the Bees for the past couple of years. You'd probably say, he could do more than that, definitely, with 20 goals from the right wing, yeah, you deserve more. You should probably be on 100,000. But this bloke looks to be asking for £250,000 per week. Now, some might look at that and think, well, do you know what it is? It's the modern day. Who's Man U are paying £250,000 a week for Mason Mount. He's barely kicked the ball for a couple of years. So no wonder they're happy to pay him that much money. No wonder that Old Trafford and Jimmy Ratcliffe will sack everyone else but give, a new player that much wages. I can see it. And Mbeumo was asking to quadruple his salary, so that would take him up north of 200 grand, really. So Newcastle could have paid around maybe, 150, 170. That wouldn't have been enough. Because, again, it all comes down to money. And this is the problem with FFP and PSR. I'm not going to date again. I'm not going to get another rant about it. I cannot be asked. But the problem remains, Delap goes to Chelsea. Why? More money. And he's not going to get in front of Isaac. But Mbuemo chose Man United over Newcastle. No Champions League football. Club's a mess. More money. Newcastle would have offered him probably about 150, maybe 175,000 a week, which would have made him our highest earner. Right up there with Captain Bruno, and then Isaac is in talks as well, who's currently on 120 grand a week. He's wanting more, he's going to get more, and he deserves it. And now, like I said, Mbeumo's numbers are great. He's been a fantastic player in the Premier League for a couple of seasons now, so you can demand big wages, to be fair to him, and fair play to him. If that's his motive, that's his incentive, then well done to him. If he just wants money, great. But the thing is with footballers, when they choose that, when he's gone to Man U for 250 grand a week, when he maybe could have got about 180 at Newcastle and then been at a better team, better fans, better stadium, better manager, all the rest of it, better city, then why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? That's the part that comes down to me. It's not like it's Saudi and they're going to offer him bloody millions a week. A bit of difference there. By the time he gets taxed on it, it's not a huge deal. But that's what it's all about these days for the modern footballers. That's what we're dealing with. But Mbeumo's mad wage demands block these moves to Newcastle. We're not going to absolutely destroy our wage structure for one player right at the start of the window. We're not that daft. Aston Villa are in PSR problems. I stuck up for them yesterday. They have had to sell some of the best players. But let's be real, I think, 85, 90%? They blow on wages. They pay big wages as well. They covered Rashford's big wage in January there. Asensio, big wages. Big loan signings there to try and get themselves in the Champions League. And to be fair, if it wasn't for Man United, they would have got there. So, all swings and roundabouts. But now that we know that Mbuemo was asking for too much money, Newcastle have turned their attention to an old friend. A player that was a here we go from Fabrizio Romano a few seasons ago. Joao Pedro. Now Eddie Howe has looked at the Brighton forward once again and is eyeing up a move for him. But just like Mbuemo, he's not going to be cheap. And I tell you what, this price tag is going to shock a lot of people. Now there has been talks on Sky Sports, on social media, that it would cost 70 million to get the Brazilian to the Toon. I like the fact that he's Brazilian. The Samba boys, get him there with Joey and Bruno. But 70 million is mad. But there's an article the day that's saying he's actually got a 59 million transfer fee. So Brighton are willing to accept offers of 59 million pounds. You put that bid in, you can start talking to Pedro. Is he worth it though? It's a strange one with Pedro because I actually really like him. I think he's a quality player. He's done well at Brighton since he went there. He was good at Watford, but he's really kicked on. He's shown he can do it in the Prem. He's shown he can do it for Brazil as well. He's getting in amongst their teams. I'm not sure if Ancelotti's picked him in the current squad. Bruno's there. But, the new manager might have a look at him if he hasn't already. And Eddie Howe and Newcastle clearly like him. They scouted him for years. And this comes 3 years after agreeing a fee with Watford of £30 million. It was 25 million with 5 million in add-ons. That was agreed, but the transfer fell through. Pedro then remained at Watford before signing for Brighton instead the following summer. But since joining the Seagulls, the 23-year-old has scored 30 goals in 70 appearances for the club in all competitions. So It's not an amazing amount. Bryan Mbeumo's putting up better numbers. It's about the same fee, you know. A couple of years younger there, where he can obviously develop and reach his potential, and there's no better coaches out there than Howe, Tyndall, Jones. A lot of them are getting the best out of the players and growing them, so you could see that being a great advantage for him and the Toon. Pedro, though, he's more so his overall game, isn't it? You know, he's a great footballer. He is very easy on the eye. He's got good technical ability. His goal scoring record's decent there, 30 and 70. But obviously, as a 9, he does float about the place. For Brighton, he's played deeper. He can play on the wing as well, which is what Eddie Howe wants. You know, that's why Mbuemo was perfect. Right wing, can play centre forward, all the rest of it. Sick of talking with him now, though. With Pedro, he obviously plays down the middle, but can obviously go on the wings as well. And when I've seen him in person as well at St James's Park and at the Amex and obviously on television, he does look like a quality player. He's got that Brazilian flair about him. He knows what he's doing. He's got confidence in himself as well. He does have ability. Does have a bit of a hot streak in him, though. You know, he didn't play the last few games for Brighton after getting sent off. And then obviously they didn't even pick him after that. So was there something going on there? Are they looking at that? You know what Brighton's model is? They get people in and sell them on for high fees. You know, they've constantly done it. You know, your McAllisters, your Caicedos, your Cucurellas. That's what they do. And they're willing to do it again with Pedro. And it's a model that's worked really well for them. Brighton might actually end up back in Europe this year. There's a mad old thing going on at the minute where Crystal Palace might get kicked out of the Europa League because of the dual ownership of their owners, you know, owning another club that's qualified. That would then drop down a place and Brighton might be back in Europe. So you could see them there with Yankuba Minta going again and all that. So we'll wait and see, but they are always interested in selling players. It's just their model for them, and it's a successful one. Joao Pedro scored 10 goals for Brighton in the Premier League in 24-25, even though half of those were from the penalty spot. So 5 of them were pens, so that's not the best, really, is it? But then again, it's his overall game you're paying for, and obviously he was in and out of the team a bit with the suspension and the odd injury. So from last season's record, it's not entirely great, let's be real, especially for the crazy price tag. But I just think there is a player in there. And obviously Newcastle do as well. That's why they're looking at him. Sky Sports also mentioned in their piece yesterday that Newcastle see Pedro as a versatile alternative to Isak, where he could play deeper or out wide. The player himself would only consider a move to a club where he would be first choice striker. So it's a bit like the Delap situation again. You know, we have got one of the best strikers in the world. Very lucky to have Isak. But then when you're trying to sign players, it can make it difficult. Because Pedro, Delap, these ones want to be the main man as well, and you're not going to be that with Isak unless one of them is happy to be out wide or rotate, that sort of thing. So that's why we'll end up with Calvert-Lewin on a free. But it's certainly one to watch after Newcastle's interest in the last few years, where, like I said, in 2022, Fabrizio Romano got it wrong. To be fair, the transfer guru, he's meant to be the king of transfers and all that. He dropped the here we go, and then it was a here we no. I stopped. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't an imminent transfer. Died. Romano actually said this on the Joao Pedro situation. It was agreed between Watford and Newcastle on a permanent deal for 25 million plus 5 million add-ons and a 10% future sales clause included. Full agreement with personal terms with the player. The real point in this was Alexander Isak. This opportunity came out of nothing. They wanted Isak as a priority since June, and suddenly Sociedad decided to accept and let him go. That's why Newcastle changed their plans with Joao Pedro. According to Romano, it was a late U-turn for Newcastle. Once Isak became available, that led to Pedro's move falling through. And obviously, it worked out to be severely successful, didn't it? With Isak going on to score 62 goals in 109 matches for the Toon. And obviously now he is the best striker in the world. So it wasn't a bad deal. That's what I mean. We're trying to be positive here, right? We're all a bit annoyed that, you know, Mbuemo, when he's not coming to Newcastle. But let's have a look at it. You know, it could be a blessing in disguise. We could get another target. It could work out better. We don't know. Let's trust the club. You know, let's have faith in the system, the scouting, and Eddie Howe and his network that we will make a great signing. We will bolster the squad this summer. And the past has proven that. You know, with Pedro, then it was Isak. With Barella, then it was Tonali. There's many examples. Look at Digne, then we got Matt Target. But Lewis Hall in the end. You know what I mean? So it all works out. All's well that ends well. So let's hope that's the case. Let us know your thoughts on Joao Pedro, though. Should it be a striker that Newcastle move for? It is that mad price tag that puts me off, but football is mad these days. Bryan Mbeumo is picking up 250 grand a week. They want 70 million for Pedro, 60 million maybe. So yeah, we'll wait and see. But that's the kind of shocks and surprises and transfer fees we're talking about in 2025. Another shock and a surprise is Goalkeeper. I'm wearing the new Goalkeeper shirt right now. Don't know which one to get on the back. Let us know, because it could be one of the two familiar faces once again. We talked about Tim Krul the other day. Yeah, we talked about Krul maybe coming back to Newcastle. That was in the works. That could be a rumour where he might leave Luton Town, come back to the Mags after all these years. Because Newcastle are obviously looking for that homegrown UEFA talent, Krul would fit the bill. But more so who would fit the bill of that is the giant Fraser Forster, the Europa League winner. Fraser Forster is linked with a return back to the Toon, and it makes sense this one. He can be third or fourth choice, he's never going to kick a ball, but it hits the UEFA rules. And I don't mind it, I think Forster's still a good goalkeeper, to be fair. You know, it looks like that could be the end of the road for a John Ruddy, for obviously Vlachodimos. We mentioned this in the Keep Sell Alone video. There's no point, we haven't seen him. Mark Gillespie will probably be here at the day he dies, so that doesn't matter. And then you've got Pope and Dubravka. Pope could definitely move if James Trafford comes in. Dubravka, he nearly moved in January, so there could be some serious shape-ups in that goalkeeper department this summer. It looks like Newcastle are going to sign Fraser Forster or Tim Krul to help with that UEFA homegrown rule where to be in the Champions League you have to have X amount of players involved. And he does come from the academy, so that works a treat. So Forster, back at Newcastle, like I said, he might not play. He might play a cup game where we're playing bloody Stevenage or something. But it's all about hitting that UEFA quota, and that one makes sense. It's probably an easy one to do. It's nice to see these players return, though. Either whether it's Forster or Krul, I don't mind getting them back around the place, and then they know they're experienced goalkeepers as well, so that they can help James Trafford. I think this would be really good for a Forster or a Krul to come in, and then James Trafford, who's only, 22, learn off those, especially if Pope goes, learn off these type of experienced goalkeepers who've been in and around Premier League and European teams for the past decade or two. So I think that's a smart move. It's fine by me. There you have it then for this episode of Toon Transfers. We might be back later with news breaks. We'll wait and see. So to make sure you don't miss anything, please do subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Let us know your thoughts below. Drop a like while you're here, and I'll see you on the next one.